Hello, welcome to Productions MJC. My name is Mark.
Well, this is probably going to be the one that turns a lot of people on both sides away, but it has to be said. I have a video that some folks have commented on. People have commented on a lot of my videos, and what I need to do is let's just get over to some of them. Some folks have commented on my videos. Johnny Todd here. We got into a huge discussion, and this is one of the last ones. And here we go. Let's just bite into it and get done with it. So here's Johnny Todd. Here's our comments, and he told me you seem to have left God out of your equation. Well, what is the flat Earth God? Well, quite frankly, the flat Earth God is a God that is so weak that he cannot make water stick to a spinning round ball. He has to put his earth somewhere where water won't flow off of it. He has limitations. He has guidelines that he has to work within that are very, very similar to the guidelines of man. And these people are so proud of themselves because their God is a very weak, a very limited, and a very limiting God. I love this. Here's this. See, truth is trying to get through, but they're blocking the truth. They can't stand to have the truth come out. Well, we had our discussion, and I'm going to tell you what God is, what the flat earth God lie is all about. Their God that they relate to is incredibly timid and weak. So here we went into discussions about the Nicene Creed, the Apostolic Creed, the Apostles' Creed, the history of it, and he was quoting this creed. He was, telling me that I don't believe in God, and I'm lacking in my understanding of who God is. When in fact, like most flat earth arguments, it's exactly the opposite way around. What is the Nicene Creed? What is the Apostolic Creed? What is all of this? Well, the history of it is a bunch of guys get together, a bunch of guys that admit they have no communication with God whatsoever. There's no such thing as modern day revelation. They have never spoken to God. But they get together and they decide in, I think it was 325 when the original Nicene Creed was popped into idea, that 325 in Nicaea, then it was been augmented. Well, they get together and they have a confab and they decide who God is, what God is, and everything else, without ever having spoken to God, without ever God speaking to them. This is what they do. They get together and they decide what God is. And in my discussion with this guy, I'm like, you're repeating a bunch of mumbo jumbo. These creeds, these things are documentation written by a bunch of old guys, which I'm now getting up in there, but I digress. These were written by a bunch of guys who said flat out, we don't talk to God. Okay, then who made you the authority on what to write about God? What to write about the apostles, having never met one, having never received any revelation from God? You're going to tell us what the nature of God is and what the nature of everything else is. People would laugh at this today, but of course if they did back then, they would have been killed for, blasphemy and such. But these old coots get together and they decide to tell us what God is. Well, that sounds really hauntingly familiar. A bunch of people who have never seen anything, don't know anything, are trying to tell us the world is flat. And without ever considering anything, without ever investigating anything, without a thought, they tell us that what the nature of the earth is, what the nature of everything is. They don't even look around themselves. So I asked good old Johnny about his flat earth God. And I think Taboo Conspiracy has talked about it a little bit, but good old Johnny, and I've had Isaiah 22 and a whole bunch of other folks accuse me of stuff. So we get into, Johnny, Todd, and I get into it. Oh, this is the last one. Let's see. Let's just scanning down quick. So I asked Johnny three different. I said, "Look, dude, let me ask you three different things. Was Jesus Christ God? You know, yes or no?" There's 18 replies here, and I think 10 of them are me trying to finally get this guy to say, "Okay, is Jesus Christ God?" He goes into some diatribe, and so I told him, you know, Nikolai Tesla, he invented the electric motor. And it was 40 years later that the electron microscope was invented. And the electron microscope showed that the flagellum of the bacteria is an electric motor. It has a stator, it has rotor, it has electric charges that it can make, 10,000 RPM. Who put that idea into Nikolai Tesla's head? I said it was God. God gave him the inspiration to create science. Science is a way to understand the world around us and what God has provided for us. Well, he turns around and says, where was it? He turned around and said that, there's my three questions for him. And let's see, where's it? Oh, he said that the fallen angels taught man things. I'm like, where does that say that in the Bible? I don't understand that. And then we get into the, him just rambling. So, and I ask him, you're unable to answer a simple yes or no? Well, ask yourself, was Jesus Christ God? Flat earther, finally, when you get around to it, will say, yes, Jesus Christ is God. Okay? And he gave me Bible quotes and said, here's this, here's that. So, we look at their stuff here. Jesus, let's just build on that. Jesus Christ is God. I agree with that, and I'm the one that told him, look, I'll just tell you yes, flat out. Jesus Christ is God. So, is God susceptible to the whims of man? That's my second question. Is God bound to listen to what man has to say? Think about it. Does God have to listen to what man has to say? Does God change? So I asked him, is God changeable? Is the nature of God the same, or does God change? Is God God, or is God something that man made up and man can dream about and think about and everything else? And I told him my answer is no, God isn't changeable. What's yours? Again, I get like 5 different responses about what the nature of God is and everything else. Scriptures and all this other stuff. And then finally, he says, if you don't get it, the answer is no, God does not change. Let me see if I can find it here. He says God doesn't change. So he's quoting scriptures all over the place. Thinking I don't believe in the Bible, but I do. God is not human that he should lie. Okay. In case you can't see my answer in the passage, no, God does not change. Okay. God doesn't change. Okay. We've established that Jesus is God. I mean, and no, I'm not going to do one of those, God is love, love is blind, therefore Ray Charles is God. None of that stuff. I'm just flat out, God is Jesus. Jesus is God. The nature of God doesn't change. God doesn't change to suit the whims of a man or men or their philosophies or anything else. So this is the idea of a man. Robotham and others. This is the idea of a man. This is the idea of men. Men and women, you know, talking about what our earth is and isn't. This is man-made. God isn't subject to this. And I told this guy flat out, my God is omnipotent, omniscient, and, you know, I get those, I can't even pronounce those words. I told him my God is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-doing. You know, nothing is past my God. And guess what? My God can and does make water stick to a spinning ball. You know, his can't. His can't. He admits. You know, these people admit flat out that their God is so limited and weak that they cannot make water stick to a spinning ball. You know, whatever their gods are or whatever they are, they can't do it. They cannot make their god or gods or whatever they're calling them cannot make water stick to a spinning ball. So we have, you know, opposing theories, opposing ideas, opposing point of views, right? Well, my question to him that I haven't asked yet, I'm going to ask it in this video of him and all of you. Who is the best authority to go to concerning God? Who is the best authority on God? Think of who you know. Now, some of you may even quote Richard Dawkins, you know. Some may say the leader of your church, the Pope, whoever. And remember, the Pope admits that he doesn't talk to God. So that's out right there. I mean, you know, he said he doesn't talk to God. God doesn't talk to him. There's no revelation. He's just a guy. And you can find that on a Catholic website. They say flat out, nope, doesn't talk to God. The Pope is just a guy. So, think about it. Who is the best authority on God? For most of the globe earthers, they've figured it out already. God is the best authority on God because God knows God. So, I'm gonna ask you, what does God say God is? Think about it. Think about, what does God say that God is? What does God say God is? Think. Where's it at? It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. God tells you what God is. There are other people that tell you what God is. John says God's a spirit. And he quoted Colossians, and you know, he quoted some other things. God is not human that he should lie, and you know, he quoted a bunch of stuff. So, okay, what does God say about God? That is going to be the big reveal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this video in parts. So I'm going to break away and then start over with a chunk. I'm going to get me some new web pages up, and we're going to go over what God says God is. And I want you, whether you're atheist, Christian, whatever, think and pause this video and think about it. Try to look it up yourself. What does God think God is? What does God tell you God is? What does God... I mean, it's not a matter of think, I guess, really. What does God tell you God is? And I've given you all the hints you need, because this is crap This is crap. It's written by people trying to tell you what God is. What came out of God's holy works, the Bible? But I'm going to give you the biggest hint of all. What came straight out of God's mouth? Okay? Pause the video and take a break and research it, think it. Even if you don't believe in God, you can look this up on the internet. What came right out of God's mouth and said, this is what God is? Huh? Pause that and I'll help you figure that out in just a sec. Okay, now that intermission time is over, let's go on to what are we up to here? We're up to the big reveal. Well, let me just float on back over to Mr. Johnny Todd, who says, I assume you are godless. Where does he put that? Yeah, up here. He says, I assume you are godless. There we go. I'm guessing you're godless. I guess he meant you are. Oh, I digress. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, he says in Enoch, Book of Enoch's endorsed by Jesus, quoted by Jude, and according to the Old Testament, it says the Bible will be changed and altered from what it means because of people that can't accept what's going on. The only thing that Johnny Todd and I agree on, because my religion teaches me that right from the start. The Bible is a great source, but it's not infallible because men have gotten their fingers into it and screwed it up. So just keep that in mind. Well, he quotes, where's his other quote? God is a spirit. I love this one. I love for them to quote this because this is now, and I hope I'm not losing you because I'm telling you the story of what the flat earth God is all about. It's about this. Okay? God is a spirit, and when you pull your head out, you'll figure that out, right? That's what this guy's telling me. Problem is, John doesn't say God is a spirit. John says God is spirit. Totally different. Okay, Johnny boy, grammar lesson time. And this is going to be a big one for you, and you better pay attention. A spirit denotes that God is something. Okay? Right? He is a spirit. A ghost, a wisp, something, whatever. But, taken in the context that John says it, God is spirit. And if you look to the Greek, the word spirit means soul or breath of life. So John is telling you that God is the breath of life. Right? You figuring it out? I know that your religious leaders, and there's almost all of Christianity says this. God is a spirit. They throw that little in there that's not in the Bible. Men, like you point out, Johnny boy, are screwing things up because that's not in the Bible. It is not in the Bible at all. It never says anywhere God is a spirit. It says God is spirit. In the original. Now you get all these funky other versions and all that, and most of them leave it alone. But see, right as you get to God is spirit. God is the breath of life. God is the breath of life. Okay? So, we've got that cleared up that you're quoting from, man's version of things. Just like this earth is man's version of it. God is spirit. He is the breath of life. Okay? But John is saying that. And you quoted other stuff too, didn't you? Numbers. Where God is not a man, blah, blah, blah. Well, the problem is, God is not a man, and if it had have been a period right there, then we've got, but we have to take into context this over here. We have to take into account that God is not a man, or God is not human, as you quoted it, that he should lie. This verse isn't telling you that God is not a man. It's actually dissing humans and men that lie and change crap. Again, we're back to man corrupting the Word of God. Okay? Here you go. That he should lie, nor a human being that, see, no period, it's a comma, that he should change his mind. Okay? So, like you properly quoted, God does not change. Okay? But like you misquote all the time, there's no period there. It doesn't say God is not a man, or God is not man. Okay? Understand that. This is a grammar lesson for you, so you can go back to your religious leader who's been filling your head full of junk and say, wait a minute. It doesn't say God is a spirit. It says God is spirit. That's totally different. So, let's just move on to the nail in the coffin. Let's go to, and see, here's the spirit definition where it says that breath, life, soul, everything else. So let's just move on. And so your God of your flat earth is nothing. You admit it. It can't make water stick to a spinning ball. But remember what I asked you? Who's the best authority on God? Let's see what God himself, Jesus Christ, said about God. What is God? Well, whip out your Bible, buddy boy, and look at Luke 24. And God himself, Jesus Christ, said that he's not a spirit. He said, it is I myself, handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as you see me have. God has a body of flesh and bone, not flesh and blood. Blood is immortal. You lose your blood, you die. God says that God is not a spirit. So when these flat earthers start quoting everything, and I know this may not be the lesson that everybody wants to hear on either side, but that's just too bad. This is how a flat earther couches their lies about what the nature of this bullcrap, in-your-face garbage is. They misquote things, they add words here and there. They aren't literally stupid. They are actually symbolically stupid because they take everything literally almost. It's weird. But and like I said in my other videos, they do it for attention. But I'm telling you, this is how they couch their crap. The flat earth God is a lie, because everything they're telling you about their flat earth God is a lie. They're telling you God is a spirit, lie. They're telling you other things. They're telling you that the Nicene Creed and the Apostolic Creed, the Apostles' Creed and all this is just canon. It's the best. It was written by a guy. This bull crap right here was written by a guy. And that's the bull crapper himself right there. It's all a lie. What you're being taught about your own religion is a lie. God is not a spirit. God is a being of flesh and bone. And he himself tells you that. So, booyah, in your face, you have to understand that I am telling you the truth, but you will not accept it. You will do this. You will hide your eyes from the truth. You will hide your hearing from the truth. You will hide from the truth. You will throw up that blockade and keep truth out as long as you can. You will blockade it. I'm telling you, that is the true nature of the flat earth God. It is a flat out lie.
Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This has been Mark with Productions MJC.